Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Strange and Exiles podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Toirac. This is my co-host, Daniel Toirac Sr.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the holiday edition of the show, as you can see.
Yeah, we're in a completely different area now. You can see kind of everything. You see the pictures on the wall.
Yeah, there's pictures, and this is just, okay, our friend is visiting us here today. The producer has brought out our friend Big Bird, welcoming everyone. Also behind us, you have our Christmas village that we put together every single year. You can see parts of it. I don't think you can see the whole thing, but yeah, it's a big, beautiful village. My wife goes nuts with this every year, so at least you got a little background view.
We'll probably change to having the nativity once it's done, I imagine.
Yeah, hopefully the nativity will be done this week, so the next podcast we'll have that as a background, maybe. All right.
So that'd be nice. So now, well, first.
I was waiting. I was waiting.
Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button or follow whatever you're listening on. Thank you. So continue on with Hinduism. Now we're
wait. Before we get into it, I have to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Me and the producer, your mother, we watched last podcast, and I found this quite interesting. I said the word weird like 40 times. Mm. You, however, said the word interesting like 40 times. Mm. And I started thinking, is he listening to what I'm saying? Or did you just find everything interesting about this? And I'm like, that's it. He's a Hindu.
Well, because we didn't really go over any theology. So I find just the philosophy part of it interesting because a lot of people say it minus the religion part of it.
Yeah.
In terms of the therapy or philosophy kind of things.
Yeah, I don't know. I was listening to it and you kept repeating the word interesting. Like you said it a lot of times, which was interesting.
Now that we're getting to the theology part of it, it's definitely going to be more weird. Speaking of which, we're getting to the 7 basic tenets, which this is kind of, I guess, the explaining the religion in a sort of systematic way.
Yeah.
So any opening thoughts before we get into it? I know you read through what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I read through this. Basically, what we're going to talk about tonight, this podcast, is these are the core beliefs of every Hindu. As we said last time, and we'll keep talking about it, Hindus are just like Muslims, just like Christians. There's different groups. Just like you drive around, and if you're a Christian, you see Methodists, you see Presbyterians, you see, they want to be called Christians, but Mormons, you see Jehovah's Witnesses, you see Pentecostals, you see the Catholic churches everywhere, you see Episcopal, you see Anglican, you see all of that. And you say to yourself, wait, when Jesus came, the 12 disciples, minus Judas, which they replaced with Matthias, how did we get from those 12 dudes to like 100 different offshoots here? And it's the same thing with Muslims. They have the different, even within Sunnis, the majority, they have a whole bunch of different offshoots. Even the Shias have different offshoots. And then the same applies for the Hindus. The Hindus, they have different offshoots. We were listening today to Christian Prince. He was debating a Hindu. And even there were 2 Hindus at one point on the phone, and both of them had different views of God. Their God was different. So even among the Hindus, they can't even agree on certain things. So, but what we're going to talk about tonight, these are the core beliefs of all Hindus, independent of any grouping or sect that may exist. So,
Okay. So let's get into the first one then, the Brahmin, which is...
Weird. I gotta say, I was listening to that Christian Prince debate. Weird what these guys believe. It is just odd, right, Goda? Like that God is like a vibration, and then God is
I was seeing some of that.
Yeah. Great. Okay, anyway. All right, you're gonna respond to, I found that interesting. All right.
The Brahmin, which is the Godhead. This was weird, the way they describe the Brahmin when I was reading through it, but maybe you can explain it more in detail to us.
Okay, very good. All right. So Brahmin, if you ask any Hindu, who is your ultimate God? They all say Brahmin. When Christian Prince asked both of those Hindus, explain to me who Brahmin is, they both gave different answers. It's kind of hard to explain what Brahman is to the Hindus. So I'm just going to tell you what they write. Hinduism teaches that there is one supreme reality. They didn't even say God, they said reality, known as Brahman, which is inconceivable and therefore cannot be described in any way. So right off the bat, the first sentence already tells you that they have no idea how to explain their God. Like, you can't even describe it. It's inconceivable. It's a supreme reality. It's a reality. It's an immensity. It's a space. It's a thought. But they don't really know what it is. But it can be realized in deep states of meditation. So if you do deep meditation, you can realize what Brahman is. It is that from which every conceivable thing arises. In other words, the way that we believe that God is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, all of those omnis, where God is everywhere all at once, where God knows everything all the time, where God is all powerful and almighty, they apply those same things to Brahman. They just don't know how to explain it. They just don't know how to actually give you detail about it. And of course, they can't give you detail about it because they have 8,000 religious books and all of them are weird and they all, contradict each other. So of course, it's very difficult to pin down what God is. It is that from which everything arises, by which things exist, and into which everything is ultimately dissolved. So in other words, when you think of your state of reality, Junior, when you're here, you're walking around, you go to work, you go do this, you go do that. Everything you see, everything that is around you is sustained, created, held up, and ultimately dissolved by this conscious being that nobody can explain. The same thing we say about Christ, they say about Brahman. We just have proof that Christ existed. We have biblical texts that speak of Christ in a prophetic way. We have biblical texts that talk about Christ's life. We have biblical texts that talks about Christ's death. We have biblical text that talks about the atoning work of Christ on the cross. We have biblical text that tells us that Christ will return for us one day. They don't have that. I can explain to you my God from top to bottom, reading from Genesis chapter 1 all the way to Revelation. I could tell you all the things about my God, all the aspects. I could tell you all the attributes of my God. They can't do that. They can't do that because God for them is unknowable. It is way too much. No guru has been able to attain the knowledge of what exactly Brahman is. Now, let's see. Now is when we get into the very interesting part of how they see God. The supreme being, Brahman, assumes a dual nature, male and female. The male aspect is known as Purusha, which means that which fills. In other words, the immensity which fills all of creation and all of the known universe. The female aspect is known as Shakti, which translates as energy or dynamic force. The Purusha, which is the male aspect, and the Shakti, which is the female aspect, are philosophically distinguishable, but inseparable in their being and cosmic function. In other words, examples. If the male aspect is the word, the female aspect is the meaning. If the male aspect is the flower, the female is the smell. Both of them comprise a oneness. All right. So now this applies to the overall supreme being Brahman. All right. Now the nature of Brahman is defined by three attributes: absolute being, consciousness, and bliss. Absolute being, consciousness, and bliss. Now is where we get really weird, right? I already explained to you who their God is. Yeah. It's Brahman. And I explained to you even though they haven't explained to me, which is fine. But now let's see how this God, Brahman, how he manifests himself. All right, because you can't just say you believe in a God that sustains the world and that creates all things unless you can tell me a little bit more about him. Now, this is what they've devised, the gurus, over the last thousands of years. This is what they've sit down in India. They're over there. They're inventing not only curries, but they're also inventing other things, languages and all of that. They came up with this. This is what somebody revealed. And it's funny because Christian Prince said, who revealed this God to you? Where did it come from? Oh, from the Vedas, from the Upanishads, or from the Gita. And then they just throw that out there. Okay, but who wrote those books? And then how did he receive this revelation? Like, did Brahman physically come down? Did Vishnu? Did Shiva? Did Brahma? Did any one of those gods, Lakshmi, did any one of those gods come down and actually reveal this to you? They have no answer. They have no answer. There is no answer. But we have a billion of these people walking around right now. And that's the Hindus. That's not counting Buddhists. Yeah. Buddhists is like another 600 million. So within the theology framework of the offshoots of Hinduism, along with Hindus, we got about 2 billion people. When you add the Jains and when you add the Sheiks, and the Buddhists and the Hindus, about 2 billion people in the world that are following all of this weird stuff. You know, their gods have a bunch of arms. They're blue. They're green. I don't know. They have different faces. It's odd. So this is what they believe. They actually believe in something what we would call a Trinity. They don't like to call it Trinity because then he starts to blend too much into the Christianity aspect. But they actually have a Trinity. All right. The Supreme Brahman, the big almighty God, is both transcendent to the creation and immanent within it. It is at once the projector, sustainer, and destroyer of the cosmos. So what they came up with, they said, well, we need a God who not only can create, but a God that also can sustain, but also a God that can destroy. Now, we believe that Yahweh and our Trinity can do all of those things. Mm-hmm. He's God. He's all powerful. He can do all of that, you know. The Muslims believe Allah can do all of that. The Hindus thought maybe it's too much for one guy. So, you know what, let's kind of divvy up the work here. You know, the heavenly works, let's divvy it up. We'll have one guy in charge of one thing. We'll have another guy in charge of another thing. And we'll have another guy in charge of another thing. So this is what they came up with. Brahman takes on a personal aspect known as Isvara, okay? Isvara is basically Brahman taking on something sort of an avatar, I guess if you want to say. It's almost like the way we say Lord, they say Isvara. You don't, when you read some of these sacred literatures, the word Brahman isn't as used as much as Isvara, because Isvara is now almost the personification of Brahman. Brahman cannot be realized. We cannot conceive him. He is way too great. But we can attribute him in the form of Isvara. But now wait, I'm not done. Now, Isvara, so now Brahman is ultimate. He's everywhere. He's everything. Brahman reveals himself as an aspect or an avatar, if you want to call it. And they love to use the word avatar, which I find it interesting because part 3 is coming out soon. He takes on the aspect of Isvara. Now, look at what happens. Isvara then manifests himself in 3 forms. As the first one as Brahma, not Brahmin. Take off the N at the end. Brahma. As Brahma, Isvara creates the universe with the aid of his Shakti. Now remember, if we go back to Brahman, remember all the gods have a male and a female aspect. So right off the bat, every time you see a god, there is a female aspect, a female helper. It's like the gods are perpetually married up there with their Shakti. So Brahma, he is the male aspect. He is the personification of the attribute of being, transformed in becoming. And his Shakti is Sarasvati. Sarasvati is his Shakti, his female companion helper. As Vishnu, So now we got Isvara, the avatar of Brahman, manifests himself in 3 ways. The first one is Brahma, and Brahma, remember, he's the male aspect, has a female aspect. The female aspect is Sarasvati. The other way that Isvara manifests himself is as Vishnu. As Vishnu, he sustains the creation with the assistance of his Shakti, which is Lakshmi. Now, you might know the name Lakshmi. Every time we go to Indian markets, there's a big brand named Lakshmi, and we buy their ginger garlic paste, I think. So
I guess you're sustaining us with ginger garlic.
that's what I'm thinking. That's why they made it, because like the Madras curry powder and all of that. Like, yeah. It sustains us with our curries. Vishnu is the personification of the attribute of bliss. And Shiva dissolves. He's the dissolver. So you have Brahma is the one of the becoming or the being. You have Vishnu is the one of bliss. And then you have Shiva is the dissolver. Shiva also transforms and recreates the universe with the help of Kali. I can't wait to get to that chapter when I tell you how many years pass every time there's a cycle where they destroy the earth and redo it. Yeah, you're gonna love that one. So Shiva's homegirl in creation, whatever, is Kali. Shiva being the personification of the attribute of consciousness. These 3 are not separate gods, but the supernatural embodiments of the eternal cosmic dynamics. Why do they use these weird words? Like it's so dumb. But anyway, this process, and of course they use the water thing, the same thing that the Christians use with the Holy Spirit. I mean, with the Trinity, right? This process can be likened to water vapor, which is Brahman, condensing into water is Vara, and then solidifying into different shapes and forms as ice. Although different, all 3 substances are nothing but H2O. The personalists, remember last time we talked about the personalists and the impersonalists. The personalists actually worship God kind of like the way, like we, for them, Brahman, Isvara, like all these gods are like they feel like connected with him. Whereas the impersonalists, they feel like God is unknowable, transcendent. We can't really know who he is. The personalists focus their devotion upon Isvara and stress his immanence in the creation and his attribute of grace. The impersonalists direct their meditative practices to the impersonal absolute aspect of Brahman and stress its transcendence and total lack of attributes. So right off the bat, last week was kind of an intro. Today, now we're introduced into their gods. Yeah. They believe that they have one god, Brahman. Mm-hmm. Brahman manifests himself as Isvara. Now, this Isvara is kind of like, I guess, the way we would look at our Trinity. So then what's Brahman doing all day? If Brahman is projecting as Isvara, is Brahman still Brahman or is Brahman Isvara?
I think both.
Because he's an avatar.
Yeah.
See, this is the part that I get dicey on.
Is Brahman just like the way atheists will say like the universe, and that's Brahman?
No, but they look at him as a supreme being, as a supreme like.
But they also say Brahman as a word is the immensity. I think it said.
Yeah, the immensity.
So it's everything.
It's everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah.
I know, but then when okay, so let's just assume you're going through this, right? This is like the Back to the Future effect. Brahman is everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once. But then he projects himself as Isvara. Which is Vara is now taking on the form of 3 other people. So now Brahman is everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once, projects himself as Isvara, and Isvara is a triune god with Vishnu, with Brahma, and with Shiva, and they're homegirls.
Yeah, I guess.
Does any of that make sense to you?
Not really.
Why? Last week you were all interested. Now you're backtracking. Now that we get into the actual aspect, last week you're like, yeah, man, this Hinduism sounds real psychological. It's like they're really breaking down my brain. And then now when I give you their gods, your brain is broken. Do you want to add anything to that before we go into the incarnations?
I mean, I guess I don't know if you can answer this question. Are the Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, are they like
Shiva.
like individual beings, or are they just like this is how he manifests himself when he's doing that specific task?
Brahman manifests himself as Isvara. Isvara is a triune god.
So is it like a modalist kind of thing?
Once again, how am I supposed to know? All I know is that Brahma is the being, and then Vishnu is the bliss, and then Shiva is the destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once again, they don't give me any more. They don't give me any more information on here. I mean, this is Hinduism for dummies, and I'm still dumb.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a billion of them. Yeah, right now. Go to Mumbai.
Yeah.
Put up a sign on the corner saying, "Can somebody explain Hinduism to me?" And then you'll get a guy that looks like Gandhi floating, and then he'll tell you, "Oh, come over here. I'll explain to you." All right. Now let's talk a little bit about the incarnations. The incarnations. There's a verse from the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 7 through 8. Whenever there is a decline of dharma. Now, what is dharma?
I forgot.
Dharma is your duty.
Okay.
It's your way of living. Oh, Arjuna. Just so you know, I didn't really know this until today, but I did some research and I started reading it. The Bhagavad Gita, which is considered their Bible, right? Like, you know, it's actually the Lord Krishna, another god that it isn't part of their triune god, but there's another dude named Krishna. That's why we have all the Hare Krishnas running around in their orange robes. The entire Bhagavad Gita is Krishna talking to Arjuna, his friend. Mm-hmm. And that's what the entire Bhagavad Gita is. I didn't even know that, to be honest with you. So, but anyway, there's a verse from the Gita, chapter 4, verse 7 through 8. This is Krishna talking here. Whenever there is a decline of dharma, of way of living, of duty, O Arjuna, and an increase of adharma, then I incarnate myself. So in other words, when things are not good and bad is getting more prevalent, then Krishna shows up. For the protection of the good and for the destruction of the wicked, for the establishment of dharma, I am born from age to age. So this dude Krishna shows up whenever. He comes in different embodiments. Just so you know, the actual God Krishna that the Hindus believe in, he was the 8th avatar. I read this today as well. He is the 8th avatar of Vishnu. So Vishnu created an avatar of himself, came down here to earth as Krishna. But wait, the Hindu today that was talking to Christian Prince said Krishna never actually existed. It was more of a mindset. Mm. So Krishna doesn't actually exist. He was never a thing. So of course CP is just like false god. You know, your gods are cartoons because he was showing pictures of them.
But then the avatars of like the Vishnu, those avatars are those they come down to earth as humans or as
Buddha.
Okay.
Buddha was one. Jesus. They actually believe Jesus.
I've heard that.
Yeah, they believe Jesus was an avatar of one of these gods, you know?
So they would believe that Jesus is God, just in their weird religion.
He is God, but remember, because now is when we go into the teachings. Jesus, they don't look at him as God. They say that he is an avatar of God, that he was blessed to be able to, his body be an avatar of God, but his self is never ending. Because remember, just like we have souls, they have self. We're gonna get into that tonight. Don't worry about it. See, I don't want to get too mixed up because then you start saying I take too long. So, Isvara so now that we're talking about the incarnations now, right? Isvara, remember, Isvara is the avatar of Brahman, the big god, the everything god. Isvara participates personally in the sustentation and emancipation of the world through voluntary incarnation. Isvara's incarnation are innumerable. He never limits his participation in the liberation of all sentient beings. Time out. So what you're telling me is that Brahman, the everywhere all at once, he takes on the aspect of Isvara. And then Isvara then takes on the aspect of an incarnation. So who is sustaining the world while Isvara is a newborn baby? Isvara was just born in Mumbai. She's a young little girl. Who is sustaining the world if Brahman is Isvara and Isvara is now incarnate? Who's sustaining the world? How is Krishna an avatar of Vishnu if Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva are all one in being? Good. I just saw Jerry walk off the bed. I think homeboy's gonna drop the dog. Because we normally can't see them because there's a curtain, but now I can actually see them, and he's up to something. Anyway. So in other words, I have more questions than answers. How could it be? 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 No, that's not the song. What is the song? Whatever, it doesn't matter. The purpose of the incarnation is to reestablish the principles of spirituality, to reestablish equilibrium in the universe, and to shower divine grace upon the devotees. So in other words, God himself comes down, becomes incarnate to reestablish the principle of spirituality. But now the funny thing is about it, I'm going to ask you, does the little baby girl that was just born as Isvara, does she know that she's Isvara?
I would imagine so.
We're going to get to that in a little while, and you're going to laugh. All right. As long as there are sentient beings to be emancipated from the cycle of birth and death, in other words, the samsara, Isvara will continue to manifest himself. On this basis, all Hindus accept Jesus as one of the incarnations of Isvara and as consubstantial with God. The problem arises with the absurd attempt to limit the incarnation in time and place to a single and unique event. Now, what are the 3 degrees of incarnation? Number 1, Isvara chooses a human being and endows him with extraordinary powers for accomplishing some purpose. Number 2, Isvara personally incarnates, but with a fraction of his total being. And number 3, complete incarnation with all the divine energy, which you can apply that to Krishna. So in other words, Isvara becomes a human being and gives him extraordinary powers. That an example of that was Buddha. Isvara comes down with a little bit of power. That's Rama. An example of that being Rama. And then Isvara comes down with all of the divine energy, and an example of that was Krishna.
So, okay. So Krishna is a human then, and from what they believe.
Yeah, but nobody knows who he is.
No one knows who he is.
But if you look him up, he's blue.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look up a picture of Krishna, he's blue.
Oh, so all the blue people in their drawings and stuff, that's Krishna?
Where do you think this guy got the movie Avatar from?
Yeah, now it's like it kind of makes sense a little
Where
bit.
honestly, where do you think Cameron, what's his name? Cameron,
So James Cameron?
James Cameron.
Yeah.
Where do you think James Cameron got the idea for Avatar? It's all in Hinduism. We just didn't know about it until we started doing this podcast. Now something out of nowhere is like,
That makes sense.
oh man, for the last 15 years, I've been loving these blue guys running around. And guess what? They're just a regurgitation of Krishna. Jake Sully is Krishna.
Yeah, Jake Sully's like the Messiah too. He's basically Krishna.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. Okay. For those that are watching this that know Avatar, you'll laugh because you'll understand it.
Yeah.
Right? You know what? Let me show you a picture of Krishna. I mean, just so the people, because who's actually going to look this up, you know? I mean, let me see. This one's kind of girly looking, but for some reason, all of their gods look like girls. Yeah. That's Krishna. Can you see it?
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different copies, a bunch of different pictures. But literally, if you look up all the Hindus' gods, Christian Prince today, he looked up a website that has all the gods and like pictorials like this of him. And all of them look like chicks. Like literally all of them. There was no manly looking one. All of them, like the faces were all very girly. Yeah, so I don't know.
I was looking at that because I was doing the little thumbnail for the last video.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
And you found something about it?
Yeah, because I was just searching up like whatever picture of their gods, and they all kind of look like that.
You want to see Krishna as a baby?
Some are like
How
green or red.
Was? Look how cute Krishna was as a baby. Look at that. Look at that. Look how beautiful that little blue baby is. Yeah. I saw a bunch of those in Avatar Part 1. Like literally, there were a whole bunch of Krishnas running around, all about, what is it, Pandora? Yeah, Pandora. Okay. Cute. All right. James Cameron trying to pull a fast one on us. All right, so that's basically Brahma, Brahman, you know, the god, how Brahman, the ultimate, their big god, breaks himself down into Isvara, and then Isvara breaks himself down into three separate beings between Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and all three of those, they have the female counterparts. So now how many people are you looking at now?
Already 7.
Okay,
8.
wait. So Brahman...
Is Brahman a person or just...
Nobody knows. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He's an idea. He's a concept. Like ask the guru. The guru's gonna say he's like he's what makes you think. And like, what do you mean? Like for instance, right now I just thought about saying what I just said, and I said it. That was Brahman. Brahman is the one that gave me the thing to say the thing.
Sure. Okay.
But he's everywhere.
Yeah.
But then he's also Isvara. But then Isvara is also Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and they have their counterparts, their homegirls. So then now you're looking at like one god, Brahman, that has his female counterpart, who projects himself as Isvara, but Isvara is really 6 people. It's the 3 dudes with the 3 chicks.
It's already 8 people.
How many gods are this? Is this one god? This is them explaining their main god. We haven't even got into the other ones. All the other ones are hilarious. Everything about this is hilarious. This is some guru making stuff up and people actually believe it. See, Muhammad, he made it up. He made up his religion, but at least he made it kind of sound like the Bible.
Yeah.
He used a lot of aspects of the Bible. He just didn't crucify Jesus, but he used aspects. It was believable. Who is believing this? Oh, free your mind, son. You have to go deeper. You have to go deeper in there. You got to do yoga, but not the yoga we do at the YMCA.
Yeah.
They do a different type of yoga, which we're going to talk about that later on.
This feels like one of those things that like 4,000, 5,000 years ago, whenever it started, they say 6,000, 7,000, that people were like trying to think about God more intellectually instead of just like, oh, the sun god or the moon god. And then the devil came in and just gave them these weird ideas.
I think these people were the people that built the Tower of Babel.
Wasn't that like a lot of people though?
No, I'm just saying like, oh, they wanted to have more knowledge than God. They wanted to be up, you know, so they're over here saying, oh, let's build the tower so we could float. Anyway. All right, go ahead.
So then the next one is Atman, or the self.
Say that again?
Atman? Atman?
Oh, I thought you said Ant-Man.
No.
The movie. It sounded like you said Ant-Man.
Well, Paul Rudd.
Yeah, Paul Rudd. All right.
The self, which, as you were saying before, is essentially the same thing as how we would say the soul, but the self.
Yeah, but it's so much deeper, though. Like, for instance, the Christian, which I think he gets into it in here, the Christian belief about the soul is something that God creates when you're conceived.
Yeah.
You're given a soul. Do you know where the self comes from in Hinduism? Okay. The self in Hinduism is eternal. It is immortal. It is almost like a ray of sunshine from Brahman. Like basically Brahman, like a little chunk of him, like comes out of him, and then just like a ray of sunshine, boom, a self is created. Not a soul, a self.
Yeah.
See, now is when we start to really get into I keep saying that on the beginning of every chapter. Now is when as if everything we've said already has been completely normal and understandable, right? But now is where you start to get into the idea or the notion of the individual.
Yeah.
Now it's the individual responsibility. The self, or as Junior said, Ant-Man, is an eternal, indestructible expression or mode of Brahman, like a photon of light from the sun. So, Junior, you are an eternal expression of Brahman, just like a ray of sunlight. Mm-hmm. The self that you have.
Sure.
Because this is just flesh. This is nothing. The self, which makes you who you are, that is an expression of Brahman, just like a light. Mm-hmm. Does that seem pretty interestingly fair and logical?
Not really, but
why not?
Just because
Brahman, who is everywhere all at once, who is everything, who projects himself as Isvara, who then Isvara projects himself as all of those 6 people. You are I wish I had a flashlight, like you're a Brahmin, who's also Isvara, who's also Brahma, who's also Vishnu, who's also Shiva, and then the 3 chicks.
the producer pulled out the flashlight.
Put out a flashlight. Oh, I think she's telling me to get my phone to do the flashlight.
Yeah.
The time passed already.
Yeah, whatever.
It's fine. Yeah. And Junior, yourself shares with Brahman the essential attributes of existence, consciousness, and bliss. So you share that with Brahman, the all, everywhere, all at once that we still don't really understand. Just as a glass of water from the ocean shares all the qualities of the ocean, but is distinctly different from it in quantity and potential. So in other words, you have everything that Brahman has. Mm-hmm. You are everything. You yourself. Not you, Danny, like the person in you.
Yeah.
The one that keeps getting reincarnated over and over and over up until you achieve your nirvana. You have everything. Since you came from Brahman, you have everything of Brahman. The problem is that you're just one little person. Mm-hmm. When you look at it in terms of the world, you're a speck of dust compared to everything else. But you have everything that Brahman is. You have all of the abilities. You just haven't achieved it yet because you haven't really gone through the guru process. Those gurus, the ones that float, those are the ones that have achieved this incredible ability of consciousness, of being, of bliss, that they're they're just incredible, right?
Yeah.
And then they start a cult. The self is characterized by consciousness. The self is naturally immortal, having no beginning and no end to its being. It is atomic in size and undergoes embodiment. So in other words, yourself, just so you know, is like huge. But like it transforms. The self, it's a transformer that then it's able to be born in a baby. Mm. But really, what you have inside of you,
we're part
it's
of Brahman.
Everywhere. Huh?
Because we're part of Brahman.
Because you're part of Brahman, who is everywhere, everything, all at once. Now you're getting it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. It undergoes this embodiment, which means that it takes birth in the bodies of plants, animals, humans, or gods. So in other words, can you imagine that right now I go to my backyard and I go to an orchid. Mm. The orchid is a self. Is a projection of Brahman. It's sitting there in my backyard. I am going to admire that orchid now even more so. Because previously I just said, well, that was a creation of God. But now, wait, that orchid contains God. The Bible tells me that I am a temple of the Holy Spirit because I have received the Holy Ghost because I am a Christian and a believer in Christ. But that orchid has Brahman in it. Thus, don't forget to water it. All right. Anyway, I'm just telling you from the perspective of a Hindu. I don't care about the orchids. In the embodied state, in other words, either in a plant, an animal, a human, or a god, in the embodied state, the self is technically referred to as jiva. So in other words, the self is what it is, but when it is embodied in the orchid, in Jerry, in you, or in a god, it is technically called jiva. Mm-hmm. In embodiment, the natural attributive consciousness has become obscured and veiled by ignorance and delusion. What does that mean to you?
Kind of the same thing I think the Mormons were talking about, where since we're embodied here within humans, we don't know that we're a part of Brahman naturally.
Okay.
We have to come to that enlightenment, I guess.
So now let me go back to the previous conversation. In the incarnation, when Isvara takes on the form of that little girl in India, does the little girl in India know that she's Isvara?
I guess not.
There it is. So in other words, Isvara, the projection of Brahman, the all-powerful, takes on the form in the incarnation of a little girl in Mumbai. She has no idea, but apparently she lives her life to improve the lives of all the other Indian Hindus. So that's her calling.
Yeah.
In other words, Jesus, when he was incarnate, according to the Hindus, he didn't know when he was born that he was going to be the savior of the world. It was through his life that he then realized that he had a bigger purpose, but he didn't know that he was a god, just like Buddha and just like Krishna and just like all the other lies that they tell us about these people becoming incarnate. And you're right, it is exactly like the Mormons. The Mormons believe the same exact thing. I wonder where he got that from, Joseph Smith. All sentient beings are essentially non-different from each other in their essence nature. In the embodied state, the difference between them is the degree of ignorance predominating. Animals are in a greater mode of ignorance than are humans. I can attest to that. I have 2 dogs. The body is merely a vehicle and an instrument whereby the self, remember, you, to the Hindus, you, Danny, are just flesh. We want to know about the self. Mm-hmm. We want to know what's in you, who you are, what you're all about, what you're doing with your life. The body is a vehicle whereby the self experiences the world and reaps the reward of its past actions, which is karma. So in other words, you reincarnate your previous self, which you have no knowledge of, because remember, it's veiled. Mm-hmm. You are reaping the rewards of the karma, be it good or bad. Most Hindus would believe in the good because all of them try to do good, you know? So then now the life that you're living, you are now reaping the rewards of the previous incarnation that you were in, which once again, you don't know who that was. I mean, it could have been, you know, the president of Venezuela, for all we know. I mean, I don't know. You know, you literally could have been like Vladimir Putin. Yeah. No, you could have been Hitler, but you didn't know it. Oh, but wait, if you were Hitler, then you'd have bad karma. Yeah, right. You probably wouldn't come back as a person. You'd probably jump back down a step to the animals.
Maybe even plants.
You'd probably get knocked down. Brahman would be like, nah, bro, you were really bad. You killed 6 million Jews, bro. You're going back to being a sunflower. That's it. The body is produced through sex and decays after death in accordance with biophysical laws, right? Okay, we could agree with that. That's science, sure. 7th grade, whatever. The self, however, transmigrates to another embryo to continue its spiritual evolution. So, dude, yourself, you're the self, not the soul, the self. We say soul, the self. You're in a spiritual journey. And you can't get to the end of the race in one lifetime. That's impossible. Nobody could do it. Sure. You need to go through transmigration, i.e. Reincarnation, a bunch of times as you progress. The problem that I have is if you are veiled of who you were before. How do you know you're progressing? That's the question. Answer that. Answer it. I want an answer, Hindu.
I think you're not supposed to know you're progressing, but according to what we've said so far, it sounds like naturally people are inclined to progress over time. Just maybe some people it takes a lot more lives than other people.
Why do you think we talked last week all about suffering? If I was a Hindu, I would be suffering 24 hours a day. Because I would say, okay, look, me, Danny, I got certain goals in my life that I want to attain.
Yeah.
But then what if the dude that comes after me just takes a big dump on everything I did? Like, I'm just speaking bluntly here. I mean, honestly. What if you die and then the embryo that takes on yourself, remember the self is huge, it transforms into an embryo. What if that person turns out to be not good? All of your progress is for nothing. Now suddenly you go, now you're, instead of you progressing to eventually get to nirvana, now you get knocked back and you're a bunny rabbit. You're a bunny rabbit. You're a caterpillar. You're a bumblebee. That's what you are.
So do they believe in like DNA, like making you worse or better, like that kind of stuff?
What do you mean DNA making it like
your
like genetic mutations?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Go ask them. How am I supposed to know? I guess in other words, the point that I'm making is that it's so difficult to believe in a religion in which you yourself cannot do anything in order to assure that one day you'll gain salvation. You see, since you're always being reincarnated, you, Danny, this avatar right now that's holding the self that you've been for a million years jumping up and back and forth, you are going to live your entire life never truly knowing if you will ever reach nirvana or heaven. You will live and you will die. You're just going to hope that yourself, which the next kid, hopefully kid, not animal, but the next kid who takes on the embryo, you jump into that embryo, you have to hope that that next guy is going to do good, or girl, or whatever it is. As opposed to Christianity, where I could preach to you the gospel and I could tell you right now, I am giving you 100% assurance of salvation. If you want your moksha, your liberation, accept Jesus Christ. Then you will be free from all of this incarnation, samsara, liberation, nirvana, blah, 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 blah. Who is your God, Brahman? Explain them to me. Oh, it's Vara is the projection. Oh, but that one is 3 of them. They got homegirls. So now your God is another God who projects himself as 3 gods, who has 3 girls. But you're also telling me that this God incarnates sometimes when things aren't going so good for the Hindus. But then the person that he incarnates doesn't even know that he's the God. But then at the same time, if that God is incarnate, who is sustaining the world? Who is sustaining the world if the God is Vara, the main God, has come down here in the form of a little girl in Mumbai? The little girl in Mumbai, she's born, the embryo. She's holding within her the God of all gods. Who's sustaining the world? Is it that girl? Is it the girl? Well, she does poo-poo? Is she just sustaining? What is she doing? Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going off on tangents. This is literally the weirdest and dumbest religion that Junior finds interesting. The self is the subjective I that is referred to in relation to the objective universe of experience. It is the subject which experiences the body and mind as objects. So in other words, you are the subject. The body is constantly changing, but that consciousness which does not change but perceives the physical changes is the jiva. So in other words, you, Danny, your body's constantly changing. I saw you when you were born. I held you in my hands. I can't do that right now, but because your body has changed over time. But the self does not change. In both a corpse and a living body, all the physical structures, organs, and chemicals are present. So in other words, your body and a dead body, they're both the same. They all have everything the same, unless that person had like a kidney removed. I guess they didn't think of that. Anyway, I guess just for argument's sake. In the case of a corpse, the life force is absent. That conscious life force is the self which has continued its transmigration or reincarnation. The number of jivas or incarnations is infinite and innumerable, like grains of sand on a beach. All are in various stages of transmigration or incarnation. So in other words, what we believe is our spirit, because remember, we believe that our bodies are comprised of three components. We Christians, we are body, which is the flesh, spirit, which is our life force, and then the soul, it's who we are. I guess these people only believe in the flesh and in the self, and the self and the spirit are basically the same thing. Like the self is almost like if you blended our soul and our spirit together into one thing. Mm-hmm. It is important to note the difference. Okay, this is what I was telling you about. It is important to know the difference in the Hindu concept of self and they call it, just so you know, throughout the book, they call it the Abrahamic coalition, which is the Christians, Jews, and Muslims. That's what they call it. And our concept of a soul. For the Abrahamic coalition, Christians, Jews, Muslims, the soul is something created by God that is given to the individual. Both God and Satan contend for the soul. One can sell one's soul to the devil, and one can redeem one's soul, believing in Christ. Animals, although fully conscious and sharing many attributes with humans, nevertheless do not possess souls. The three faiths even debated, in other words, the Muslims, Christians, and Jews, even debated until the Middle Ages whether women had souls. In Hinduism, the self is eternal and all-pervading. It is the very essence of a sentient being. The thing possessed by, controlled by, and manipulated by a sentient being is its physical mind-body complex. For the Abrahamic coalitions, one's primary identification is with the physical bodies, because we believe in the resurrection one day. For Hindus, the primary identification is the self, our true essence, nature, the body being its vehicle. I don't fully agree with what they said there. Obviously, we believe in a resurrection in the future, we Christians at least. However, I'm not going to say that our main focus is on the body. Yeah. Our main focus is on the soul. Really, it's the salvation of the soul. Where is your soul destined to go to? Are you going to spend an eternity in heaven or in hell? The individual is composed of three bodies. This is once again within Hinduism, which are interlaced and function as one. You have number one, the gross physical body. That's you, your body, your flesh. Number two, the mental body, which is your astral body, which is part of yourself. And number three is the causal body, which is the subconscious reservoir of all mental impressions and karma. So in other words, you have a third aspect where you have all of your built up karma from all of your previous selves, all of your previous incarnations. You know, you develop karma from that. You got to stockpile that somewhere. So apparently they've created some sort of a bank account where you could deposit that, and that is what they call the causal body. Yeah. That's your karma bank account. You know, that's where you eventually you cash in, right? The self uses these three as vehicles for its expression. So in other words, the self, the eternal thing, uses these three for self-expression. The gross physical body is changed each time the self is born, but the astral body and the causal bodies remain with the self until final liberation. So in other words, yourself, the person that makes you who you are, every time you get into a new body, you know, for instance, right now, you are the son of a Cuban, Puerto Rican, American. You know, next time you might be a Filipino. You know, the next time you might be Russian. The next time you might be Hawaiian, eating poke bowls or the rest of your life. But the astral body And the causal body is where you got your karma bank account. And the astral body, those do not change. They remain with you until your final liberation, which is your moksha, which is you're finally in nirvana, not the band. So that's basically what the self is. I swear, after I read this stuff, I am more confused about the self than myself.
It is just odd the way they look at it.
How long have we been going?
55.
We've done 55 minutes and we've only done 2 of the 7.
Yeah, I know.
Just so you know. Just so you know, 2 of the 7. I told you there was going to be a lot of dialogue. You thought that this was, oh, just read it and be done with it. There's a lot to talk about here.
Well, the next one is Samsara, the flow of life. This one's a bit shorter, though.
Okay.
I'm assuming kind of just the, well, from what I've seen here is the flow of life and also flow through different lives and reincarnation.
Samsara is basically a cute way of saying reincarnation.
Yeah.
That's big. What do you think about that, Big Bird? All right. Okay, let me read you a verse. This is from Upanishad 3, verse 2. One who entertains desires, thinking of them is born again here and there on account of those desires. Very deep. How do you explain that? Explain that to me, that verse. Mostly because I want to drink water.
I mean, one who,
if you entertain desires, if you think about them, you keep being born again because of those desires.
I guess.
So stop having desires.
It's kind of just a weird way to.
I know, right? Yeah, it's so dumb. Okay. So, samsara, not the perfume. The fundamental doctrine of Sanatana Dharma and its offshoots. Sorry, my phone is making stuff. What is this? Birthday? Whose birthday is that? Is that Melvin? Melvin's father is 93 years old? Oh, Ophelia. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, is it a party? They're inviting us?
Is it like a joint thing or you have to choose one?
Wait, at 4 o'clock? But isn't the baby shower at 4? I'm committed to the baby shower. We're doing the games. I kind of have to
you
go.
have to do it, yeah.
Are you going to edit all that out or do you just leave it there? You don't care, right? All right. Producer, you're supposed to be in charge of this, like keeping me on track. All right. Okay, so the fundamental doctrine of Sanatana Dharma and its offshoots, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism, is the doctrine of reincarnation or transmigration. So in other words, all 4 of those world religions, they all believe the core doctrine is reincarnation. Just like our core doctrine is the cross. For them, it is, die and then you're going to come up to somebody else. This process is called samsara, which translates as the ocean of relative existence or the flow of life. How do you go from flow of life to just like, woo, 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 like you're just constantly jumping into other bodies? And you got this hidden karma bank account that you're dragging along with you. I wonder, is it like a suitcase? Like within the self? Like, okay, ask yourself.
It's like a credit card.
You think it's it might be okay, but back then they had no credit cards, like 4,000 years ago.
Like
they had to carry around a sack.
Yeah, like a little bag.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Luggage is a lot though. Are they rich?
Their luggage definitely had no wheels.
Yeah.
Which was horrible, and they're dragging it through the sand. Well, the camel would help.
You think they roll around in camels themselves?
Does yourself, because it's immense, before it into a baby, like you're carrying around your karma bag.
Yeah.
Okay, are there camel selves? Because remember, there are animals, right?
Yeah. Is yourself?
Okay, but is yourself a projection of who you were or who you're gonna be?
Maybe it's like something completely different, like the first person.
Oh, like the original?
Yeah.
Okay, who was your original?
I don't know.
I mean, of course you don't know. For all I know, you could be Isvara. Okay, come on, let's get through this. Then you say it's 2 hours. The Darwinian concept of evolution of the species, where one form of life evolves into another, ever more complex form, may be appropriate to the physical body, but Hinduism applies a radically opposite theory to the evolution of consciousness. Birth in the heavenly realms, or as gods, is not desirable because it is only in the human form that one can work out one's karma and achieve liberation through self-realization. So in other words, you can reincarnate as a god, but that's not cool because gods can't work out their karma. Only humans can. So imagine if you're born as a god. Wait. If you reincarnate as a god, number one, if you see, now this is my follow-up question to you, Abu. I'm gonna go Abu, or Apu. Is that Apu from Simpsons?
Yeah, it's Apu.
Apu.
Yeah.
Apu. Okay, Apu. I'm gonna ask you, if you reincarnate into a god, did that god die, or did you create a new god? Secondly, I forgot the second question.
I think it has to be new God.
So in other words, if you take on the form of it, it's a new god, like completely new god.
I guess.
Oh, is there an announcement?
Well, because if that God would have died by your logic, that means he's just gone and there's a new God.
Okay, so I'll go with you. I remember the second question. If you reincarnate into a god, is that god eternal?
Yeah.
So in other words, you will never, ever receive your liberation because you will go on living as that God for the rest of time. So if you reincarnate into a God, you're completely stuck for eternity.
That's why it's not desirable.
Come to Jesus. Apu, come to Jesus. This is false. This is of the devil. Anyway, let's keep going. There are some schools and gurus which teach that retrogressive rebirth as an animal or a plant is an option. But this is doubtful due to the fact that animals are not bound by the moral law of karma, and karma is the driving force of rebirth. So in other words, there are some schools that say, yeah, you could backslide. You can go from being someone that is going through working on your karma, that you're trying to achieve your moksha, that you are trying to get there. But if you slip and fall, you can come back as a mongoose. All right? Or you can come back as a mountain lion, or as a gazelle, or whatever you want to call it, or as a mice from Petco.
Then how do they work out their karma to come back to being human?
But that's what they're just saying, that's a problem, because then they don't have karma. So then how do they become human? So then that's what I ask you the next question, which we're going to get to in a future podcast. How is it that people were originally born from Brahma? You start out low as a plant. And if you can't work out your karma as a plant, how did you ever get up to being an animal? How did you ever get up to being a rat in New York? Like how? How did you go from being a tulip or a rose to then being a rat, to then being a raccoon, to then being a Puerto Rican? I'm just saying. How do you go from being a tulip to being a rat, to being a raccoon, to being a Puerto Rican? How does that process go? If the tulip and the rat cannot work out their karma to be better.
Yeah.
So how did the rat ever become the Puerto Rican? It doesn't make sense.
I guess that's why they say.
Okay,
it's doubtful,
I'm not gonna say Puerto Rican. I'm gonna say the rat became Ramon. Ramoncito. So in other words, if the animals and the plants are not bound by moral law, they cannot work out how did the original rays of sunlight from Brahman, who became selves, who then transformed themselves into tulips, how did the tulip ever go from being a tulip to being a rat, to being a raccoon, to being a Ramon? If they can't. These are the holes in the argument. These are the holes in the religion. This is when you back up a Hindu, they say, oh, no, Brahman knows best. Brahman knows best. Just like the Muslims say, Allah knows best. Okay, very good. All right. Thank you for the answer for that, Apu.
The next one now is getting into karma, which, as we were just talking about, is the way that you progress in your spiritual journey. So maybe kind of explain the details of it.
Are we gonna have time for this one? This
Oh,
one's
this one's
very
actually
long.
long, yeah.
This one's like very long.
Oh, this one's like 7 pages.
And you know, it's
Oh,
karma.
this
There's
was
a
like
lot to talk about.
We're at an hour 5. Nirvana.
We're at an hour 5.
The rest of them are all kind of long.
That's what I told you, bro. You thought this was gonna be a cakewalk.
Well, it took you a while for the short ones then.
Well, but the short ones were funny. You want to just leave it here?
Yeah, we can leave it here.
Yeah, let's leave it here. Yeah, I mean, I really want to be able to explain it right. You know,
Yeah.
if I just read it, then nobody's gonna understand what I'm talking about. That's why I'm taking so long, because I need to explain it, because these concepts are so foreign to us.
Yeah.
And so silly. Really, they're silly. So if I just read it, then I have to explain it, and then maybe Big Bird will chime in.
There's gonna be someone else next week.
Yeah, next week. Sorry, Bird. You're gonna fly the coop, and there'll be somebody else here taking your place.
I see a little mini over there already.
Oh, Minnie Mouse. Yeah. Yeah, look, she has the you have all of those things in there, like the what is that little blue thing, man? We could have used him today as Krishna. Huh? The Stitch. Yeah, she had this. You know what? We're gonna put Stitch here next time, and we'll call him Krishna. Yeah, and we'll be like, look, there's Krishna. So, man, a Hindu sees this, man, they're gonna feel like I'm really offending them. I'm sorry. Just your religion is funny. I mean, just like we're literally watching Christian Prince, and then he put up, just so you guys know, he put up pictures of the different gods, and there was this one lady god that she had 9 hands on each side, a total of 18 hands. And then Christian Prince says, "Ooh, I like this god, this woman god. She give me good massage." She said, "Oh, you get good massage from this god because she has 9 hands on each side."
Yeah.
And he's joking, but at the same time, she probably gives a great massage.
Yeah, she'd be good at it.
Who believes in a god that has 18 hands?
How many gods do they have?
Dude, let's look it up since we got time. Man, look how cute this baby Krishna is. I'm just going to do a Google search, Hindu gods. Let's see, Hindu deities, list of Hindus, Hindu gods with pictures, because the pictures are the best part. Okay, learn about Hindu gods and lotus. Okay, you got Ganesh. That's the elephant one. You got Shiva, the destroyer. You got Vishnu, the preserver. You got Nataraja. He's the dancing Lord Shiva. Okay, I guess when Shiva dances, he turns into Nataraja. You got Krishna, which here Krishna has... Yeah, Krishna, just so you know, Krishna has 2 hands, but then also has 2 other arms. Like, has 4 arms. You got Parvati, which is a benign aspect of Devi. You got Hanuman, which he's the monkey god. You got Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth. You got Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom. You got Durga, the conquerable. You got Brahma, the god of creation. You got Kali, the goddess of time. You got Murugan, the god of war. You got Shakti, the feminine energy. You got Patanjali, the father of yoga. And I think they got tired.
But they're all Brahmin, or how does that work?
Who knows? Who even knows? I don't even know. Let me see some cool photos.
Well, I guess,
here.
yeah, they would have to all be Brahmin.
15 Hindu gods representing that balance between the universe. Do they got pictures? Man. Oh, yeah, look at this one right here. Look at these right here. Look at this. Look at these gods. Yeah, look at that. Aren't those fun? You go to Barnum and Bailey Circus and they're out there, huh? Yeah.
Elephant god.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I don't understand, dude. I just, like, at some point, it stops being funny, and it starts to be sad when you start, okay, look, Indian gods. Let's see what this one is. Okay, let me see if I could. Okay, can you read there? Like, what does it say? Because I can't really read. You can't really read it? Well, you got Ganesha, you got Brahma, you got Buddha, You got Hanuman. You got Saraswati. You got Vishnu. You got Krishna. Yeah, you see, look, some of them are white and some of them are blue. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's Kali is blue, Rama's blue, Shiva's blue, but Durga, she's white. Kamadeva's green. That dude is green, like Incredible Hulk. Yeah. So in other words, bro, they're all out there, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what do you want me to tell you? I just know Ganesha because Ganesha is the elephant one, and yeah. Next time we'll talk about why they adore cows. Why cows are sacred to them. That's why you can't get a good burger in India.
No.
McDonald's doesn't operate in it. I don't. They probably do, but they use lamb or something else. You know.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get to that next time. This is just a very odd, strange religion. Their entire deity system, we talked about it tonight. How can their one God project himself as something else, but then that other person is 3 people with their girlfriends. So now you got 6 people. And then, but that also that one supreme God can also incarnate himself in the form of some kid in India. But then who's sustaining the world when that's going on? Like, I don't have an answer. Once again, this is Hindu for Dummies. Maybe they don't get too deep into the theology of it, but at the same time, pray for those people.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's just a whole 2 billion people lost, blinded by, no offense, by stupidity. It's just dumb. It's dumb all around. The pictures are dumb. How do you give bodies to gods? Look at this. I mean, what is this? Really? These are gods? Seriously, these are gods. This is what you guys consider gods to you? Like some blue guy with a little baby elephant? I mean, it's just odd. It's just odd stuff. I mean, look at that photo, man. And they all look like chicks.
Yeah,
For some reason, they all look like girls. So yeah, I mean, is this Krishna with his female counterpart, and then this is their baby? A little baby Ganesha, a little miniature baby elephant. Yeah, and that elephant is chubby. So yeah. Oh, this is definitely Krishna because look, he has the arms behind. Always has the one arm and then the arm behind. Yeah. But yeah, Christian Prince was showing some of these photos, and you know, some of them like it was a scene like depicting, and then you had like a god in the background playing a guitar. You know, and just weirdness. Like, look, this god here is playing a flute, you know? And then the other one, what is that? Like the Indian Poseidon?
Yeah, it's Krishna.
Oh, that's okay. Look, Krishna is also Poseidon. He has a trident, which is pretty cool. So, I guess Jason Momoa is Krishna. Aquaman. Anyway, look, it's funny, but it's sad. I mean, what do you want me to do? It's what do you want me to tell you? It's I hate that they depict their gods in these colorful, just weird ways. But that's their religion. That's what they believe in. They're constantly looking for more knowledge and more knowledge and more this and more that. And sadly, they're all going to their demise because in an attempt to learn more knowledge, they reject the supreme truth of the world and of the reality. And it isn't some higher knowledge. It isn't some way of dealing with your karma to be able to receive your moksha, then be into nirvana. And no, it is Christ Jesus who died on the cross. He resurrected. He came back in a glorified body, and then he promises to come back for his church. That's in John chapter 14. And then he also promises to come back for a second coming. That's all throughout the book of John, the book of Revelation. He will come. He will judge this world. He will judge all of you blue God worshipers, and he will then destroy all of his enemies. And all I could do is hope and pray that God's grace will reach you somehow. Yes, all of you people in India, hopefully there are missionaries right now that are reaching out to you, that are getting you out of this weird cult, this God that turns into another thing, that turns into 3 things, but then they got their girlfriends. All of that, it goes completely against any sort of reality of what a God is. God is not an impersonal being. God is someone who loves us, who came down, who became one of us, did not become incarnate in some little kid in India. No, Jesus Christ himself became man so that he can die on the cross, so that he can save our souls for eternity. So you know what? It isn't yourself that you're trying to deal with karma and gain more knowledge. It is, guess what? You, Apu, you, whatever your name is, walking around Mumbai right now, you are not going to come back as somebody else. You don't got that chance. Guess what? It is appointed for man to live and to die once. That is it. You, whoever you are walking around India, you will die. You're not going to have a second chance and a third chance and a fifth chance and 1,000 chance. No, you will die. Where your soul is at when you die is where you will go. You are not going to have another opportunity to be some teenager in Brazil. You are going to die. And you are either going to go to heaven or hell. You believe in Jesus Christ, you're promised salvation. You continue to believe in blue elephants, you will go to hell. Capiche?
Capiche.
Those were my thoughts.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back next week with the rest of the 7 tenets of Hinduism. Hopefully finishing them out next week.
By the way, when are we going to record that?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Do you want to record it Saturday morning?
Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
it. Yeah. All right. Okay. We'll see you guys next week.
All
Thank
right.
you.
God bless you all.
God bless.